Well, welcome again to Analysis Behind the News. This is a weekly segment that we do. Normally Bill Hahn does it, but I'm substituting, if you will, due to my recent visit with congressmen in Washington, D.C. I was discussing the fourth edition of my book, Entangling Alliances. One of the things that we're all frustrated with is the lack of resolve, the lack of progress, the lack of really doing much in Congress. Believe me, there are a lot of congressmen that feel the frustration themselves. Let me just give you one little fact that came to me as we were visiting with some of these gentlemen. Do you realize that, as far as we can tell, this is the first Congress in the history of the United States where no amendments have been allowed to any legislation? This is being done by the leadership under Ryan, imposing itself over all the rest of the congressmen, and it's got to stop. This is not in the Constitution of the United States. A lot of procedures are involved and have been ingratiated into the various habits of the Congress, both in the House and the Senate, that are not in the Constitution. They're designed to control Congress from the top down through the leadership. And there seems to be no means to replace that leadership right at the moment with anybody who's going to play the game fairly. One congressman personally told me that today he feels that the only thing that he's in Washington, D.C. for is to write letters to servicemen thanking them for their service, or conducting short tours to show the beautiful Capitol building. But other than that, he says, I'm almost useless, because I'm told to vote the way they want me to vote, which he doesn't usually do, by the way. But he's not allowed to put any amendments in. He's not allowed to even discuss what's going on. And they're not even given time to read what they're supposed to be voting on. And it's becoming very, very frustrating. I can't tell you how many congressmen there are who feel powerless at this point, primarily due to the leadership and the machinations of the leadership in controlling Congress, much to the detriment of getting anything done, getting any appointments made and confirmed for the federal bureaucracy, so on and so forth. They are so frustrated, but they are leaderless. They all want to be the leader. They all have their particular ideas. You can't get them together to fight as a unified, cohesive organization against the leadership. And so we found this frustration in every one of these congressmen, and every one of them that I discussed this with personally agreed that no, they were not allowed this session of Congress to enter any amendments or vote on any amendments. Very frustrating. That is not the way things are supposed to be done. Another thing that I found that was universal amongst the individuals I talked to was their knowledge of the fact that Elaine Chao, who is Secretary of Transportation and married to Mitch McConnell, has very close ties with the Communist Chinese. Everybody seems to know it, and yet, they let her get away with it. If it was up to me, I'd call for an investigation. Just how close are you, Mrs. McConnell, to these Communist Chinese? And from what we've been able to find from our viewpoint, looking at it from our direction, it's considerable. How much influence is involved in this sort of thing? So it's disconcerting. And then one of the things that's been going around Congress is how Mrs. Chao McConnell has been treating congressmen. For instance, in one case where a congressman had something critical to say about her husband, she got pretty much in his face and angrily told him that we're watching you, whatever that means. Well, he took it to mean a threat. And many of those that heard this also took it to mean a threat. But that's the sort of thing that's going on in Congress right now. Individuals that want to do things but can't because of the leadership. And nobody seems to be able to organize to change that leadership. And when Ryan's gone, it appears it's going to be very difficult to get anybody in there who is not fair, who is fair rather. They're talking about McCarthy replacing him, and there seems to be not enough congressmen willing to do much about it. So these are some of the things that are going on. Another thing that's been happening in Congress is that the recent revelations by Julian Assange on WikiLeaks that the CIA is running Democratic opponents against some of the Republicans has gotten traction. Some of these congressmen actually believe this. Now, whether it's true or not, we don't know. But regrettably, Assange has had a pretty good track record of telling the truth, regardless of his motivation, what's behind some of these revelations. But I talked to one congressman that's scared to death, who's convinced that the Democratic opponent against him is a CIA-sponsored opponent. CIA has a lot of money, and if it's true, then it's not only disconcerting from the standpoint of the federal government getting involved in these sorts of things, but the fact that they shouldn't, that they do have money to spend on this. And it's convinced enough congressmen that this is true. Another thing that's happening is that the RNC, the Republican National Committee, is actually running candidates against some of the conservatives. In other words, they want these conservatives gone, out of there. They include some of the people in the Freedom Caucus, but it goes beyond that even. We know that this is true because we've seen it before. It's a track history of the RNC, and it's something, again, that needs to be stopped. Let's make the point here that we are not talking about Democrats and Republicans per se. What we are talking about is a deep state of individuals on both sides of the aisle who do not want constitutionalists sitting in Congress. As one aide told me this last week, he says, you know, we were completely stymied by what was going on because the Democrats controlled everything, the presidency, the Senate, the House, everything. So we actually got out there and did our work and got more Republicans elected to the House. Well, we didn't have the Senate, so we needed to do the Senate too, so we went out and worked real hard to get people into the Senate. Well, we did that. Then we said, well, we can't get anything done because the veto power of a Democratic president, so we need to get the presidency. And that was accomplished. So we got the House, we got the Senate, we got the presidency, and we still are accomplishing nothing. And a lot of people are going to be very angry at us at the polls. This is not something about Democrats and Republicans again. It has nothing to do with that. What it's got to do is, are they constitutionalists? Are they anti-communists? Are they fiscally conservative, etc.? And these are the people that are being stymied. These are the people that the RNC and others are running people against to get them out of Congress. This is really what's going on. What we in the John Birch Society want is an active electorate, an informed electorate, people who will understand what the situation is, what the issues are, and get out and vote according to their knowledge. And that's what we hope will happen this fall, is that people, regardless of the party, will vote for those who are constitutionalists, who believe in the Constitution of the United States and adhering to it. We hope that you're one of them. We hope that you will get others in your neighborhood to get out and vote this fall and vote for people who really want to get things done and done under the Constitution of the United States.